Hello, welcome to this video. I thought I'd do something a bit different today. I thought I'd just have a bit more of a discussion. I've not really done a discussion video. This is my first attempt, so I just thought I'd give it a go. I know I've got quite a few people that watch my clips and videos, so I thought I'd throw this one out there and just see kind of how well it does. In the background you'll see a bit of Warzone as it scan. This is just a solo game. I didn't get the win, I came third, unfortunately, but sometimes, you know, your winning games aren't always the best games. I actually quite enjoyed this one. But I thought I'd leave that going in the background. And yes, the title of this video today is Warzone versus Blackout. Now, I've been playing Warzone for quite a while now, since it released until Warzone 3, let's say. And then obviously before Warzone it was Blackout. And Blackout was actually my first taste of Battle Royale kind of games. I'd heard of Battle Royale games, but I'd never really had a chance to play them. At the point of hearing Battle Royales, I think I was currently playing a game called The Division, which I played from pretty much start to finish. But when I was watching YouTube, watching a streamer called Jack Frags, I kind of saw him playing this game, which turned out to be PUBG. And I got quite fascinated with it. So I was kind of watching him play that, as well as playing in Division 2, and I kind of thought, you know, I like first-person shooters. And I liked the concept of it. Now, unfortunately for me, PUBG had come out on console, but Xbox had got the exclusive for well over a year, so I couldn't play PUBG. And then a Battle Royale released on the PlayStation 4, this was before PS5, called H1Z1, which is from PC, I think, and it was awful. It was such a horrible game to play. And I think I only managed to get one win. And I really wanted to play a Battle Royale. And then I heard rumours of Call of Duty bringing out a Battle Royale called Blackout. And I remember seeing the trailers and was actually quite hyped and excited. Blackout released and loved it from start to finish. And obviously Call of Duty decided to move on to Warzone, which I don't think, I don't know, like gameplay, audio, weapons has been as solid as Blackout. Blackout did not have half as many problems as Warzone, Warzone 2, and now Warzone, let's just call it Warzone 3, has had. A lot of that, I think, is because it's more of a money-making machine. Warzone is now a business of making money. And I think Fortnite has started this off with how much money they made. People want to have a piece of the pie. And obviously this is Call of Duty's money-making machine. And I think it ruins games. And I'd like to just dive in a bit more to that. Now, I enjoy Blackout. Blackout feels, now I've been back to it last week, I had a little play, and it definitely doesn't feel as smooth flowing. It feels quite clunky. I think I'm used to the speed of Warzone. But then Warzone to me is not a real battle royale. It's not like a realistic battle royale, like rummaging through backpacks and finding attachments. And I think the reason for that is you need your own loadouts. They want custom guns. They want you to light your own guns because they want to sell them in the store. And you didn't get that in Blackout. A lot of the stuff in Blackout you could actually unlock and eventually have by playing the game. You could buy stuff in the store, because I bought skins as well. But a lot of the stuff you unlocked as you played. And I think near the end of my Blackout run, I think I'd unlocked most of the dark, I think all my weapons were dark matter camoed, which was one of the best camos. And I'd unlocked all the skins. I'd even bought some skins. So at the end of the day, you could still spend COD points in Blackout. It wasn't like they weren't making money. I just think they wanted, like most businesses, to make more. Let's go back to Blackout though, because I just think because Blackout was its own game, they just obviously created it, threw it out there. Audio, Blackout audio was fantastic. Now I've got a few mates that play Warzone with me that played Blackout, and hands down will say that Blackout had some of the best, or you just knew where people were. And playing it recently, I'd happily say now that actually Blackout audio is a bit overpowered. Like I had to go a couple of days ago and I dropped into construction, and like I must admit, unlike Warzone, I could hear where like everybody was, and it actually, I think it overwhelmed me a little bit on how many people I could hear running around. Because on Warzone, I feel like I'm pushing my ears to hear where people are. And like, I don't get how they can create Blackout with such an amazing audio system and then go on to create Warzone and it just sometimes be awful. Like, I can't fathom why they can't put it into that game or do something that's very similar. And then you've got, obviously, the weapons, the metas and the guns in Warzone. Like, the history of it has been awful. Like, in Blackout, there were never dominating metas. And don't get me wrong, once Blackout was done, there wasn't any other Call of Duty integrations like there were in Warzone 1. They integrated other guns into Warzone 1, and it was awful. Like, there's some really, like, everyone knows the DMR meta and the doof, and, you know, there's loads of videos on them. But the integrations into Warzone 1 every time just made it worse and worse. There wasn't any of that in Blackout. They added new guns, and I remember at the beginning of Blackout, there were a couple of guns that were quite overpowered, but they got leveled out quite quickly. I remember they added a gun called the SWAT, an assault rifle in Blackout, and I remember that first was added, and it was quite powerful, and it didn't take them long to kind of realise. But that's one of the differences that I've not liked between Warzone and Blackout, is just you're forced to use particular guns because of the meta. But in Blackout, I really found like you could use a very good variety of the guns and not feel like you had to run this one because it was meta. And that was the weird thing. Like, you know, you had the Spitfire in Blackout, and you know, and it had the MP40, which I liked using the Spitfire, but I never felt like one was more dominant than the other. Sometimes it depended on your own aiming, I think, as well. But and the Sorg, there's a pistol in Blackout that was really good. But it never felt too overpowered. Like, some of the pistols metas in Warzone have been awful. Especially recently with the snake shots coming back in Warzone. The last week or so, just couldn't use anything else. And it's the difference between how unbalanced Warzone is to Blackout. And I think it's because Blackout is a free-to-play. I think they're more concerned about the money they're making than they are actually a game that plays smoothly sometimes. And that's what it's felt like. And I know they have a lot of different studios that work on it, but it's a shame they can't all sing from the same sheet 9 out of 10. Because Blackout was not a free-to-play. You had to just buy the game. And I happily bought the game. And once you had it, you owned it. And that was it. And we just played away. And you unlocked stuff as you went. But I just think it was really good. And I guess the thing is, Blackout was more of a realistic battle royale. It kind of followed in the footsteps of PUBG, most people said. And I only played PUBG a little bit. Had a little play at a friend's house. I never actually downloaded it myself and played it on my own console. But most people say Blackout was more like PUBG. It was slow, it was realistic, you know, rummaging through bags, finding your weapon, you know, so you never just bought a loadout and it had a meta weapon. You had to find attachments, and, you know, you got a kill, you rummaged through someone's bag, they had all the best attachments. You were rewarded for that kill, and it made your gun better, you know, suppressors, long barrels, extended magazines, scopes. And it just made it good. The fact that you never knew what build a person had when you confronted them, and it made the fights very unique, I think. Whereas in Warzone, once people got the loads out, boom, best gun, done deal. So it's just best gun fighting best gun, and you weren't you're not rewarded for your efforts. There's nothing better than, having like a paladin sniper in Blackout, and not having the best attachments, and then you manage to get a kill, loot their bag, boom, all the best attachments. You're rewarded for that, and then you can, have the best out of that gun. But in Warzone, people are just picking up, looting as fast as they can, just to get their load out, just to have the best guns. And I don't know, like I've come to enjoy Warzone for what it is. And 9 out of 10, I think the only reason that is because there's not really much else out there for me to play. I don't really like Apex. I don't really like Fortnite. Never been fans of those, and they're good games. They're just not for me. Blackout was my first love, and then going into Warzone, the only reason I moved to Warzone is because they weren't going to put any more content into Blackout, and I'd kind of unlocked and got everything. And most of my friends were going to move to Warzone, so I decided to make the move. And not stay on Blackout. So yeah, I think movement can play a big part between both games. I know, being back to Blackout recently, how awful I was because I haven't played it for so long. I'm so used to the quick movements of Warzone that I was so bad in Blackout that I didn't even get a kill. I would like to state, by the time I left Blackout, I'd had like 560 wins over all the modes and game modes and stuff in a whole, so I wasn't novice, but it's so easy to not play a game for a while and just lose that muscle memory. And I often thought about the maps, and Blackout map was just designed and created, and they used different parts of Call of Duty inspirations, like to make their map and put it together. Where the Warzone map was kind of like multiplayer maps all stuck together, making this big Verdansk map. And me and my friends always kind of wondered, because they were just all multiplayer maps, just all shoved together and put together to make this big map. Is that what caused audio issues? Maybe the audio couldn't work properly, and I'm not a games developer, but it was a well thought idea that maybe that was some of the problems. But with Blackout, because it was just developed and made, and they weren't added to, it wasn't amalgamation of things that had already been made. It was just a whole new idea. Maybe that's why Blackout was, in my eyes, such a success. It had very little issues with it. I really wish they'd gone on to make a Blackout 2 and a Blackout 2 from scratch, like they did with Blackout, and just made it a stronger version of that. But then they went on to do Warzone Caldera, and now Warzone 2, and then Warzone Urzikstan. And the problem is now, I think Warzone 2, people always call it a step back, but I think they wanted to try and see if they could make it realistic again, like Blackout. I think Warzone 2 and Blackout were actually quite similar, because they'd gone back to a bit more realism, I think, with the backpack looting, and the game not being so arcadey with its movement and slide cancelling and unrealistic movements than Warzone 1. I think it was their shot to see, let's see what vibe it gives, but unfortunately it's not. I don't think it's worked, and the fan base has not liked it, because now we're in Warzone Urzikstan, which moves like Warzone 1. And I think there's a market for both here. I think it's split the player base up between people that would like Blackout and people that would like Warzone. And unfortunately, I'd love them to do kind of both versions, but I don't think they will. And the maps themselves have been amazing, and then obviously everyone loves Resurgence, and I've been a huge fan of Resurgence. I'm really excited to hear that Fortune's Keep and Rebirth Island are coming back. They're two of my favourite maps. Vondal is good. It's a bit campy, I'd say, but I've played it and enjoyed it. Sheikah Island is a no. That was a DMZ map that they thought they could just make into Resurgence. I never really liked that map at all. Ashika was just a no-no for me. And when it was in rotation with Vondel, it used to annoy me that we'd get Ashika. Map rotations has been annoying. I just want to play the map that I enjoy. And I really hope when these Resurgence map comes out, they don't get up into a rotation. And if it does, can you get Ashika out, please? No, not for me. But one of my favourite maps was Fortunescape, hands down for me. People will disagree, you know. And when Rebirth came to Warzone, everyone was, oh, look, a brand new map. I was like, actually, it's not a brand new map, because actually, Rebirth was Alcatraz in Blackout. That's where it came through first. There you go. So there's been quite a lot of things to think about, but for me, there's been a lot of events in both games. Halloween events. I think there's a Halloween event in both Blackout and Warzone. The first Halloween event in Warzone 1 for me was hands down the best event they did. They've tried to copy that a couple of times, and even recently in Warzone 2, and they've ruined it each time. I think the original was just how they should have kept it each time. It was absolutely spot on. In Blackout, they had their own zombie event, which was amazing. I think they ended on, which I loved, it's just still on now, is Heavy Metal Heroes. Heavy Metal Heroes is amazing. And you would get the Black Stash, which was kind of a bunch of late weapons that they added into the game, which were really good. If you play Heavy Metal Heroes on Blackout, you always try and land where Black Stash container is, because you can only get these guns in that Black Stash. And if you can get a Locust or a Vendetta or a Peacekeeper, or if you're toxic like me, I get the Karate Chop Doll and try and melee people. Meleeing people is my thing in Warzone 1. I really miss my Cali sticks. Talking about broken weapons, the Cali sticks. The amount of times I used to make people absolutely shout with disdain down the mic because I use my Cali sticks on them. But yeah, there's been quite a few events in both games. But in my honest opinion, I really think that free to play is ruining the experience. I think they're too concerned about money quotas being hit, and I want it to go back to how Blackout was, just a solid, polished game with no issues. I don't know the future of Warzone, and I think I've played Warzone long enough now where I feel like I'm waiting for something new. And speaking of something new, I had a chance to play, I don't know how many of you did, I actually had a chance to play DMZ that came into Warzone 2, and it was classed as a looter shooter like Escape from Tarkov, which I've heard of and liked the concept of. I've never come to console because it's too complicated. But DMZ was a version of that. And in DMZ's life cycle, I think I played it for 2 seasons of Warzone where I didn't play Battle Royale. I literally concentrated on DMZ, doing missions, and actually really enjoyed it. But the problem is when they updated it, they did like a refresh and they deleted everything and you had to start from scratch. A lot of the missions stayed the same. And for me, then it got stagnant. And sometimes I was just going into DMZ and hunting for the players and looting them and just having fun doing that. Sometimes I'd go in and do missions, sometimes I'd help people. Then eventually I actually got a bit bored of DMZ. It kind of got stagnant. And I think it just, obviously now it's been sidelined and left. But I like the idea and the concept of a game mode like DMZ. But whether Call of Duty now do anything, which I don't think they're going to, is a bit of a shame. Now they've got zombies. Zombies is fun. For me, zombies was just a way to level up guns without having the hassle of multiplayer, which I'm not a huge multiplayer fan. But yeah, I'm hoping this version of Warzone goes better. They seem to be quick to resolve, meta guns and stuff. And as you can see in my gameplay in the background here, I'm coming to the end of the game, so we might as well just finish there with the conversation. And let's. This is yes, this is not very. I thought this side was going to get the zone pull, and as you can see, it didn't. And I was a bit frustrated with myself because I was thinking of staying on that side of the map as well. And the guy there has the roof. He's got high ground. He's got the roof, and I knew 100% it's game over. And when I looked down, I realised my smokes had gone, and they were replaced with gas grenades. There's nothing I can do. So I couldn't even smoke to get across the road. The zone was about to pull. I'd used most of my gas mask, I think, and this is now me panicking. So I just thought I'd go for it. He was shooting. I thought I had a clear run. Yes, he's shooting, but no, look at that. Couldn't miss, could he? What a dickhead at it. And look at the kill cam. And yeah, there we go. Well, thanks for listening. Hope I've not rambled on too long, and we'll leave it there. Thank you very much.